Let's outline your family book today by Kanika Marshall for the 2025 Midwest African American Genealogical Institute. If you watch or listen to the news, you know this is true. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, is on the chopping block right now. As much as we want our diverse family history to be taught in schools to all children, so all people can be proud of their heritage, probably ain't going to happen within the next several years. But guess what? We can write and publish our stories ourselves. And we at MAAGI are going to show you how. Yes, we can. In MAAGI, you learn how to research your family ties. But what are you going to do with all that information? Keep it in your head and in your house? My intention is to demystify the book writing process by helping you outline your book today. So grab a pencil and paper or a tablet or computer for several exercises that will help you start your book today. I'll play a couple of video options to show you how you could present your family stories, and then we'll complete a focus exercise and develop a book research plan today. We'll watch a video on how to use a book template to write your book while you're doing the research. And we'll have about 30 minutes at the end for Q&A. So type your questions in the chat because I may not see your virtual hand. Please ensure your mute button is on so we all can hear what the program is all about. So let's go ahead and see how many of you, go ahead and raise your hand if you've already published a family history book. Raise your hand if you've started a book. Now raise your hand if you have no idea how to start. My 2 MAAGI classes will get you started and allow you to print a partial draft of your book that will encourage you to finish the book. Okay, here's my genealogy journey. I was a researcher, analyst, and technical writer for the California Highway Patrol for 36 years, with a master's degree in public administration and research methodology. But here's my dirty laundry. I failed for 40 years to write my family history using the documents I had collected since 1976. So anyway, in 2016, I developed a book template process that I actually used on the job at the Highway Patrol and taught to 600 other analysts. So this process has helped me meet the mandate given to me by my ancestors, which is to self-publish at least one family history book per year. My stories are based on the genealogical proof standard, facts, nothing but the facts, ma'am, except that I tried to imaginatively tell them from the point of view of my ancestors. So it's not just hard, dry facts, it's trying to actually be there with the ancestors or having the ancestors tell us their story. I'm honored that several of my books have won some national and local book awards, but I want you to know these methods can work for you too, and that's what I'm hoping to share, and I'm hoping that you will try today with me. What are you talking about, Grandma? I still don't know how to start my book. Let's shift our mental attitude from, I plan to write a book one day, to, I must start writing a book about my family today. In 2016, the ancestors became my boss, and just like I couldn't make excuses to my CHP boss, I began to abhor the thought of failing my ancestors. So why not write books that anyone could read, including research libraries, bookstores, and Amazon, and our grandchildren? Let's start focusing efforts on one person, their parents and children, and the family slaveholders, as well as DNA analysis that might reveal specific ancestors. Let's get started today. Okay, are you ready for some fun? Get that pencil and paper because we're going to do this, start this exercise. I'd like you to please copy everything you see on the screen on your paper, or you can type it out if you have a notes app, or you can type it even in an email to yourself. So I would like you to please write number 1, who, and then the equal sign. Then underneath that, please write number 2, why, W-H-Y, and an equal sign, etc. Just recreate on your paper everything you see on this slide, please. This is so important. This is how my process starts. If you don't do it this way, maybe you'll be able to achieve the same thing. I don't know. But I'm just hoping that you will give this a try. If it works for you, great. Keep writing, keep writing. I'm just talking as you're writing. I'd like to give you a couple of minutes to write this down. And make each a separate line, please, because we're going to actually fill these things out. This will help us in the next exercise that we're going to do in just 60 seconds. We're going to start it. It's how I start the entire process. Without this, my process does not work. It's not to say that you can't find another process that will work, but I'd just like you to give this a shot. And so hopefully you guys have this all written down, and we're going to go ahead and proceed now with the next step. This will be fun. This is going to really, really help you. Is everybody ready? Got your pencil or pen and paper? Okay, now close your eyes if you like. Breathe in deeply through your nose. Then let the old stale air out through your open mouth. Keep breathing in and out slowly as I give you a beautiful magic wand. This wand will allow you to visit one ancestor, no matter the time period or place. It will take care of your spouse, your kids, and your job, so you'll have no worries. For exercise number 1, who would you like to visit and interview for 24 hours with the ultimate goal of writing a book about them? Ideally, you would write the name of a person for whom you've already found at least one genealogy document. Okay, write their name on the number 1 who line on your paper. Relax and breathe deeply. Okay, let's move on. This step is the most important for my focus process to work. Again, if you can't think of anyone, then write down your own name on the who line. Every step in my process builds on this who question, so please write a name. For the next step, think about why you chose that who person. Why are they so important that you would like to write a book about them? Write your reason on the number 2 why, W-H-Y line. For example, my mother, Mary Marshall, the shortest person on the left of center in this picture, she desperately wanted to leave her lovely hometown in central Ohio, and I wanted to find out why. If you are your who person, why would you like people to know about you and your life? Please write an answer in the number 2 why space now. You can always come back to this slide a little later, but hopefully you've had enough time to write something. It will very much make what I'm going to be talking about make much more sense. Number 2, why is that who person so important to study? My first who person was my great-grandfather, Otho Sherman Williams. He was listed in the 1880 census. But look, he was also in the 1870 census with someone named Otho Williams, along with several other people I had never heard about. The older Otho was born in 1834, and neither of us, either me nor our family historian, had ever heard who that older Otho was. So Otho Williams became the perfect choice as my who. Why is it important? Well, because I have a chance of actually finding more. I've got 2 documents with him listed in it, and also his son and family. So I've got quite a few names that I can investigate now. So Otho Williams was the furthest back person I knew, and that's why I'm choosing him as my who person. Number 3, where are the places your who person lived? This is why it's really helpful if you've already got a document, at least one document on your who person. Anyway, so if you've already collected a document about that who person, you can probably tell the location. But you may have heard about other places that they lived through family lore or other sources. Write down as many locations as possible for where your who person lived. And if you have no clue, just put an a question mark. Write down as many locations as you can think of. Nothing has to be perfect here. We're just starting this process. This will just give you some hints on where to look to go further. Again, you can come back and fill in more of these questions a little bit later, but let's move on to the next question. Number 4, this is my favorite. This is where I end up starting all of my books. What 3 things do you already know about your who person? Do you have a birth certificate, marriage, death record, something like that? Do you know what their occupation was? Do you know who their parents were? Do you have a photo of them? Is there a family story about your who person? Write down 3 or more things that you already know about your who, because that's how we're going to start our book, with what we already have collected about our who person. And again, later you can go back and put in many, many more things about what you already know. This is really, really important. It's a great way to get started on your book. I'll give you another 30 seconds to write down what you can. Now, if you are your who person, you should know everything about yourself, right? So write down the things that you would like other people to know about you. Things that are really important that you think people should know about you. So if you are your own who person, go ahead and work it out that way as far as what you want to share with people. Okay, we'll move on at this time. You can always come back and fill this out more clearly. The 5th question has to do with the 3 things or goals you want to uncover about your who person. I always want to know who the who person's parents were. That's one more generation. I strive to learn who all the who's descendants are to the present day. Why? So I can use DNA to test those living descendants in an effort to find DNA matches who may have already filled out their family tree. Those DNA matches may share their research with you. Okay, that's a quick way to build your tree if you can find people who are blood relations and have already done the research, already documented, and they'll share it with you. That's the ideal. Hello. It took me a long time to want to admit that I had Caucasian blood, but my goodness, those folks have their trees built out all the way back to England and other parts in Europe and all that stuff. So I started to get a little happy that I may have had some of them in my lineage stream. I also want to uncover who the enslavers were, to review all of their property and probate records to find more of my ancestors. So that's my big number 5. My goals, I always have at least 4 goals or 5 goals that I want to achieve with every book. You've got to figure out what is good for you, the type of goals that you want to achieve. But we need to write these things down, not just keep them in our heads. So what do we do with all that stuff? Okay, here is an example of a simple research plan. My goal is to self-publish a paperback book about my grandfather, Austin Marshall. He's my who, and I want to do that by the end of the year. I want to submit the book to archives, libraries, awards competitions, Amazon Kindle, and family to add to the United States historical record. That's my why. That's why I want to do all this stuff. It's for my family. Okay, I'm going to start writing by including the things that I already know. You know those 3 things that we said to write down? Grandpa Marshall was born in 1892 and died in 1967 in Columbus, Georgia. That's my where. Based in Cleveland, Ohio, another where. He was a Pullman porter who married Daisy Dooley in 1921. They owned the Marshall Funeral Home on Cedar Avenue and lived around the corner at their house on 81st Street. Do I have additional goal questions? Yes, indeed. I want to know who Austin's parents were. Where else did Austin live during his lifetime, and what was that place like? Who were the Marshall enslavers, and where did they live? Who were Austin's siblings and descendants to the present time? And then the all-important, can DNA find more relatives who have family trees and proof documents that we can investigate and they might let me use in my study? This book template class is mainly about structure, how to outline your story using that template. This strategy gives you a place to put your research questions and the data documents you've already collected about the subjects in your book. It also provides a place to put the snippets and stories you may have already written. Woo! Let's let your eyes adjust a few seconds. I do like color, don't I? Anyway, this is a timeline. It helps keep all the data we've collected in an organized and useful fashion. For my current book in progress, the green rows are for the Roy family I am researching. Orange is for important historical events. Blue and purple are for the employers of my family. I can sort the timeline by color or date, but to see all of the pertinent things that happened in history to each of those characters. My timelines have columns labeled who, the year, month, county, city, state, what the issue is, or in this case, the event, references. I also often include images and online location URLs where I can easily find that image, as well as a summary narrative in the notes column. You can't see the notes column because I didn't have enough space, unfortunately, but the notes will become important for the template procedure. This is a simplified breakdown of how I construct the book template outline. In the box at left are the normal pages in most nonfiction genealogy books. You've got a title page, copyright page, dedication, table of contents, introduction, some people have a family tree, bibliography at the end, citations about the author. Those are the normal pages in a regular book. On the right, in the right-hand box, I've got a sample of the chapters 1 through 8. Chapter 1, it's what we already know about our who, right? So we're going to use the who question. We're going to talk about who the who is and why we selected that person and what we already know about them. Chapter 2 could be where the who lived and what that community is all about. Who are the black folks? Who are the white folks? What did they do? Blah, blah, blah. Chapter 3, again, these are chapters 1 and 2 are things that you really don't have to do more research on. You just gather the documents you already have and then start writing sentences about the documents that you have. And I'll show that in a video in a few minutes. Chapter 3 could be the who's mother. Okay, what documents have you collected that prove who the mother is? Get as much as you can and put it into chapter 3. Copy the actual images, the actual documents, the actual letters, the actual photos. copy them and paste them in chapter number 3. Chapter 4 could be about whose father. Again, we want to go back a generation. What we're doing is not just writing a book about the who, we're actually writing about the who and one generation back and all the generations forward to the present, as well as the siblings of the who person. So we're going to do it deep and wide. It's not just about one person. We're just using the who person to focus our efforts. It's all about focusing our efforts so that we can be successful. In this sample, chapter 5 could be all about the enslavers that you find. Chapter 6 could be about the descendants to the present so that we can test some of our, folks who are still alive can take a DNA test. And then we can do chapter 7. Can DNA find more relatives who have already done their trees? They've already found information about your ancestors. Maybe they'll let you glom onto their tree and then beef up yours too. That's what the DNA piece is all about. We do all the regular genealogy to the degree that we can first, then try the DNA. And of course, if you're adopted, you got to start with the DNA in general and work backwards. But it's the same basic steps, forward or backwards, to find our ancestors. Chapter 8 could be a conclusion. So do you see where we're headed? We started with the focus exercise. Who do you want to write a book about? And then we did some, why is that person important? Where did the person live? What 3 things do you already know? What 3 things do you want to know? Your goals. And this is how we use that information. We're building our book right now. This book template outline is how the book is going to look. I'm going to have 8 chapters in this draft book that I'm going to show you in the video. And you can use the tools. The second class I'm going to give at MAAGI is how to self-publish your book. You will be able to use these tools. I'm going to give you 27 pages. If you just follow what I talk about today, you'll have 27 pages already done in your book outline today. All you got to do is work along these little exercises, and you too can have 27 pages at the end of today. So that's where we're headed. Let's see what's next. What? You're going to put spreadsheets in chapter 2? You are cray-cray. Non-genealogist readers are going to close that book right away. Their eyes are going to glaze over. So I decided to introduce my 2 times great-grandfather Otho Williams as a living character in the book. Maybe it was a dream sequence, who knows? Otho could not read, so I explained what the spreadsheet said, and he interacted with me. This is a trick that I use to present statistical data in a more approachable way. We call it speculative nonfiction. It uses factual material with dialogue, speculating on how my ancestors probably spoke, dressed, ate, thought, etc. This is how I turn facts into dialogue, and it may help you. Here's an example. I dreamed I was talking with my 2 times great-grandfather, Otho Williams. Okay, I'm talking to him right now. According to the 1870 census, you were a 37-year-old mulatto man who lived near the Benevola Post Office in District 6 of Washington County, Maryland. That would have included the towns of Boonesboro, Funkstown, Beaver Creek, and Antietam. What? My ancestors lived near the important Civil War Battle of Antietam? Before this project, I never thought I'd become excited in learning about a war, any war, or my ancestors who fought in it. Otho spoke up. It was a terrible time. We had thousands of Confederate and Union soldiers fighting 4 big battles in these parts. So many died from guns and more from disease. Soldiers looted our crops and animals, and believe you me, blood and smells of death were everywhere. Many neighbors wanted the South to win, turning against former friends who rooted for the Yankees. I'll tell you all about it sometime. But now I want to hear more about your studies and what you found out about me. I smiled and said, when I learned you had real estate valued at $1,000 just a few years after slavery ended, I exclaimed aloud, what? My Otho was a landowner? I was so proud of you. Otho beamed at my acknowledgement of his accomplishment. So again, that's a way that you can get the facts that you can see, like in the census, and maybe other works that you found, and turn it, with dialogue, interact with these characters who are your ancestors to make it more interesting. At least I think it's more interesting. So why not start your book manuscript with an outline that is structured to look like a book? It's going to have to get in that particular framework anyway before you can print it. Well, that's what the book template does. It helps the writer to structure their physical book. But my book template goes further. It is specially designed to give genealogists a place to put their research plan, proof documents, and narratives in a manuscript that can easily be uploaded to a book printer like Kindle Direct Publishing, kdp.amazon.com. The first page of your new manuscript is going to be the title page. Now, the Chicago Manual of Style and the American Psychological Association, I think is what it is, APA, those are two sources that generally have the accepted formats for genealogy books. But if you're writing kind of a slash story genealogy type book, just look at books that you enjoyed. Take this particular file, make a copy of it, and store it on your computer, because that is the template that you could use for all of your future books. It is super important to complete the focus exercise first before you go any farther in this process. So, the title page is the first page of your manuscript. I suggest that you use the name of your who. Just substitute the name of your who. Just as an example, I'm going to write this. You can change it later. I'm going to write a book about my grandma Daisy. My name, so you're going to type your name in here. And most books have an image of, so Daisy Dooley Marshall is my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, and I'm just going to find a picture of her. I will choose this for her book and drag it onto the book template. So I'm going to click and drag her until I get to the title page. There are just a few formatting techniques that I need to show you to make this work better. With an image, you see how the text is wrapped around like this? Sometimes that's fine. Sometimes that's what you want, but I don't want that on the title page. I want her to stand alone. So see right here, I've clicked her like this. On my keyboard, it's called a control. Hopefully it's the same on a PC keyboard. I press down the control key and then I click on her picture. This set of menus comes up and says wrap text. Right now, it says put all of your text all around, make a square around the image. I don't want that. I want the image to come right after the title. So I'm going to click on in line with text, and I'm going to click on that. So what that does, did you see the difference? It put all of this text down below her, and right now she's right underneath that. Blue things just means a space. This page break, let me show you how to do this. It's incredibly important that you do it before any page that has a heading like this. So most people would just keep on hitting the carriage returns, but we're not going to do that. We're going to instead go to the Insert menu, and we're going to go down to where it says Break, Page Break, and we're going to put a page break here. That is going to automatically position the cursor at the top of the next line, because on these lines, I'm going to delete these extra spaces. I've already set this up for you. I've already done the whole template. I've already done the whole shell. This is your book. These are all the pages in your book. There's a copyright page, a dedication page, poem, picture, trees, something in there. On the 5th page, a table of contents must always start on an odd numbered page. So this is your table of contents. I've already done it for you. It will it almost will automatically update. You kind of have to help it, but it'll calculate the page numbers for you, and I'll show you how to do that. I have the instructions in here. But then, so we have also, it's hard to see, but if you wanted a family tree, you could put that here. I use the introduction as kind of it's an outline to keep me on track. It's very short. Keep it to less than 2 pages or less. Clue the reader on what to expect from this book. I might put in there who it's about, why I chose that person to write about, just very, very briefly. What got me started? What got me interested in writing a book about this person? Something like that. I might have in there some major goals. What did I want to find out about Grandma Daisy to put in this book? So the introduction will keep you on track. For chapter 1, usually I just write about what I already know. So for this particular book, I started it by writing something that I lived. I visited Grandma Daisy, my family, in 1967, and this is what she did every morning. Generally, chapter 1 for me is what I don't type very well. What I already know. So those of you who have already collected stories, documents, this is a place where you can write it. Without collecting another single thing, what have you already found? Here's an example of what I mean by do the research as you're writing the book, or vice versa, write the book as you're doing the research. Here's an example for chapter 2. Where did your who person live? Grandma Daisy is my who person. So I went through all of the city directories. Look at what the information says and write a little narrative about it below it. Grandpa Austin Marshall was a Pullman porter in the 1920s through the 1940s. In 1940, he bought the Marshall Funeral Home at 8115 Cedar Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. Daisy was serving as the mortician for the family business. She also assumed the role of mother and father of their 5 children, who lived at 2182 East 81st Street. Okay, you don't need to worry about spelling. It doesn't need to flow. The idea is to analyze the data that you have and write it in a narrative format. You can expand this later. Chapter 3 could be who was your who's mother. So whatever information you gathered on your who person's mother, just put it in here and then type a few sentences that describe what those documents say. Chapter 4 could be who is your who's father. Chapter 5 could be who were your maternal enslavers. So whatever information, if it's probate information, if it's the 1860 or 1815 slave schedules, if it's even stories from the elders, whatever you've gathered that addresses maternal enslavers, put it right in here. And again, write a narrative underneath it. Who were your paternal enslavers? Chapter 7 might be who are your who's descendants. Okay, so you want to get descendants all the way to the present day because they can take a DNA test. Hello, you have to be alive to take a DNA test. But it's best if you can get your eldest elders right now before they pass on. Get their DNA because it's the closest to the enslavement period. Chapter 8. Did DNA find more relatives? Evaluate your documents and determine how that fits in with your research. So what if you find more relatives that are DNA related? Well, they may have family trees that are more complete than yours. And if you start talking to them, leave them messages, maybe they'll share the information with you, and then you can expand your family tree and find out more about your ancestors. This is all a calculated method for finding information. And using the book template allows you to put all your data right where it belongs and allows you to see it all in one place. And sometimes that helps you make connections. Write them up. Write them up. You can work for months later on prettying things up and getting just the right words and being clever and all that stuff. I gave you 10 chapters. There's chapter 9 and there's chapter 10 because there may be other topics that you're interested in. What's also in this is an epilogue or the conclusion. So, what were your goals? What did you find? What didn't you find? And what do you want to research in the future? This is the most powerful thing right here. What will you research in the future? So whatever I can find out about my who person in 9 months is what I'm going to write up. This also has several appendixes. So if you want to put your family tree back here, that's fine. If you want to put spreadsheets back here, if you want to find items that are a little more scientific or really, really bogged down in statistics and things like that, you might want to put those in the appendix instead of in the main body of the text. You don't want your reader to just close up the book. Again, make sure that you indicate what the topic is in here because it's going to show up in your table of contents. So acknowledgments, you definitely want to thank all the people that helped you do the research and write this book of love. Put all their names in there. As I ask the people who have helped me, how do you want me to remember you in this book? And then I pass it by them so that they approve of what I'm saying about them since I'm mentioning their names. A bibliography. You will have looked at many, many, many books, no doubt. Put them in the bibliography. The general rule is last name, then first name, the title of the piece in italics. If there's a volume of, the document you're looking at, the publisher, where the publisher is located, the year it was published, that sort of thing. And then you sort them by last name, alphabetically by last name. So fill out your bibliography as you go. When you're finding these things, put the information about your source in the bibliography right away so you don't forget. I actually put URLs in here too. Same thing with endnotes. Endnotes are like, footnotes would be putting your source citation data at the bottom of the page at which they referenced it. But I like endnotes. Endnotes put all of that stuff in the very back of the book. Now the endnotes are going to automatically appear here. You're going to see a superscript here, and you're going to have to type in whatever that source was. About the author is a really important page. It should be on the last page of your book. That would be your bio, a picture of yourself, other books that you've written, and ask for a review. Ask them to leave you a review on Amazon or wherever it is that you want the review left. And that's it. That's your book template. Save this puppy. So ideally, this is kind of what your book template is going to look like. You can put all kinds of pictures. You can put charts in there. You can just have text if that's what you want. And feel free to check out any of my books on Amazon. I still don't get it, Kathy. Is this how you feel right now? Well, I'm going to try to phrase things in a different way that maybe will make more sense. So hold on, we're going to get there. So what do I mean by write a narrative from a data image? Dr. Shelley Murphy always says, so what? And that means, what does that genealogy document tell you about your family? Why is it important? In my Finding Otho, The Search for Our Enslaved Williams Ancestors book, I included a chart like this in Chapter 2. Nobody wants to see charts and graphs and statistics near the beginning of a book, right? They're going to close that book right up. But this 1870 and the 1880 census were the only things I knew about my great-grandfather, Otho Williams. I like to copy and paste the entire census transcription onto a spreadsheet on my computer. Then I sort it by race, color coding the race data so that mulattoes are a light brown and blacks are a darker brown or a black background. I might sort the data by net worth with the richest on top. By net worth, I mean the value of their real estate. That column, the value of their real estate. I might sort the whole thing so that the ones who had the most money are at the top and the no money at the bottom within each race category. I might do it that way. I might also sort the whole information by sex, and I might color code the females' fonts with a red font and the males with a blue font. Color coding helps me analyze the data at a glance. You might want to try this later. Then I turn the most important data into words that anyone could understand. That's the crux of this whole method. So for example, look at the tan line in the middle of the chart for Williams, Otho. And listen carefully. I'm going to turn this into real words. Okay. I might say, again, look at that tan line for Williams Otho. In 1870, 37-year-old Otho Williams was a farm laborer who owned real and personal estate valued at $1,100. Glancing at this sample of 360 households from District 6 in Washington County, Maryland, there were 3 neighbor heads of households who were black, compared to 13 whites and 1 mulatto named Otho, who was the only person of color who owned property. So that's what I did. I looked at all of this gobbledygook, and the one that I'm interested in, I wanted to see, well, how does he relate to the other members of the community? So here's an exercise for you. I'd like you to choose one person in this chart, and then take 3 minutes to write a few sentences that describe that person. You can describe the person in whatever way you wish, but generally pretend this is information for your actual book. Okay, so you're going to pick out the information that is most important to you, and this is comparing your person to the rest of the folks in that particular community. So in this case, I just want you to get used to taking one line, pick one line, any one line in this chart, and write a couple of sentences that describe that person based on what you see. And I don't care how you write it. It's not a test, but take 3 minutes and start now, please. The secret to be able to accomplish or print a book within a year is that you write the book as you're doing your research. So that's my big secret. I go ahead and put the template together, and then I copy and paste the documents that I've already found, right? I've already collected documents. I have a book template. All I have to do is copy and paste the images, the proof of my findings into the correct chapter. Then I write a little narrative that describes what the data is. I just write the narrative underneath the actual image, and I put it in the correct chapter. This is the reason why having a book template and having your research plan in advance, so that your book template aligns with your research plan. It all makes sense. Doesn't it make sense to do it in order? Make it look like a book. It's going to be a book, so why not do all of your writing as you're doing the research in order? Just identify all this stuff in advance. So also writing an introduction will help you focus your book. If in the introduction you tell the reader what you're going to do, you just have to keep looking at it. It's really easy to find a bright and shiny thing, as Nika Smith would say, and get off track. So looking at your introduction will keep you on track. Citing your references as you write is really, really helpful. So if you find something and you have a web page URL, I just copy the URL and put it into the actual chapter where the image is. So it's really easy for me to create a citation for it later. You can do it at the same time that you're writing. You can make endnotes, use endnotes to cite your references. That's great. Read your writings aloud, periodically modify your text. I'm not an English queen, so I need people to actually edit it, and I do recommend that eventually you secure the services of a professional editor. But right now, we're just talking about a draft. I just want to get you to a draft of like 50 pages to encourage you to then take my other class, which is how to self-publish your book, and actually print a proof. It's a copy, it's a draft of your book. I say 50 pages. It doesn't really matter how many pages. It's just 50 pages is a really good size. And that way you can test their cover creator and you can have an actual book in your hands. It's a partial book, but it's something, and it looks like a book because you've already done the book template. You've done things in order. I'm just trying to encourage you to try this method and see if you like it. You can always get a professional publisher if you want later, but being able to see that you are making progress because you got a book in your hands, looks like a book, it feels like a book, it reads because it is a book. It's the same process that you could use for your final book, your finished book, if you want to. So anyway, write your book as you research. It'd just be neat to give it a try. What can it hurt? For example, if Chapter 3 is entitled, Who was Ella's Mother? Then I propose writing all of your specific questions about the mother right there at the top of the chapter. So, for example, number 1, who was Ella Roy's mother? Number 2, when or where was Ella Roy's mother born? Number 3 could be, what did Ella's mother do for a living? Number 4, where was the mother living when Ella was born in 1866? Number 5, when and where did Ella's mother die? Number 6 could be, what other questions must be answered? If you're like me, each new document results in 3 new questions. So just type the questions in the actual chapter where they belong, and when you find documents that prove or disprove your theories, just plop them into the chapter in the proper place, meaning copy and paste them into the actual chapter under the question that you're answering. Then write a little narrative that describes what the data is all about and how it impacts your theories. This is how you write your book as you're doing your research. If you've already gathered documents and you've already put together this book template, like a skeleton of the book template that I'm giving you, you just have to customize the chapter headings and then copy and paste what you've already collected, what you've already written, what you've already figured out, put it into the correct chapter. Okay, let's get into some specifics to show you exactly what I mean. Chapter 3 is all about Ella Roy's mother, and the first question that I wrote is, who was Ella Roy's mother? I found lots of documents that had Ella Roy's mother mentioned in them. I put just one for you to look at right now. How could I prove that someone named Agnes Roy was actually Ella Roy's mother? Agnes is not a real common name, but there could have been several Agneses there. It didn't mean that it was my Ella's mother, but I did find 1 or 2 documents like this one that they're listed together right next to each other on the same document. So I made an assumption that they are together, that they are related. And so I want to just put this in here, and I'm plopping it in here to remind myself every time I look at Chapter 3, this question about who was Ella's mother, I can look at this document and I will have the source information, right? It's the U.S. Freedmen's Bureau of Records, the date, District of Columbia, and it's set M 1902, the offices of blah, blah, blah. So I have that. I also have, you don't see it in this slide, but I have a URL, which will take me straight to this document when I need to see it, the full document again. Normally, I would paste the whole document in my book template. I just don't have space on this slide. So at the lower left, you see Agnes Roy, and right underneath is written Ella Roy, which would suggest to me that they're together. They are written together in the same document, and so that's why I came to that conclusion. The green box is a little narrative that I wrote, really short. It just says that Agnes Roy and Ella Roy are listed amongst 16 others who were received from the Bureau from March 1st to April 27th. So sometime in that period, they came to the Freedmen's Bureau. This is what I'm suggesting that you put in your chapters. Whatever your documents that you've already collected, go ahead and drop them into the correct chapter, write a short little narrative, and again, in this case, the green part is what I mean by a short little narrative. You can expand this description later. when you can make it pretty and fancy and you're going to use creative sentences and your spelling's going to be perfect, or at least you're going to hire someone later that's going to perfect your spelling. But right now, just put the data that you've already collected in the correct chapter and write a short little summary of what the document says. Question number 2 might be, when and where was Ella's mother born? And I'm actually answering number 2 and 5 here using the same document. I found a register of deaths from Manassas in Prince William County, Virginia. Wait, how did she get from the Freedmen's Bureau Village in present-day Arlington, Virginia, down to Manassas? And when did she get there? Each new document brings up more questions. But my question right now is number 2. Where was she born? And number 5, where did she die? This register has both pieces of information. I suggest putting the actual document into the chapter, just like I'm showing here. Actually, I found 2 documents that answer both questions. The second one is from the Virginia United States Deaths and Burials Index from 1853 to 1917. Where possible, always maintain the source of your documents, and if you can, include a URL, a hyperlink, so that you can always go directly to the actual document. As the yellow lettering says, analyze the record and write a brief narrative of what it means. So the underlined parts are actually hyperlinks. If you click on it, it's going to take you directly to the document. I'm not necessarily saying you should leave that hyperlink, the underline in your paperback book, but if you're going to write an ebook, I definitely like having the hyperlinks to be right there in the text, so it's easier for the reader to just click on it and go right to the actual source document. If you hire an editor or layout person, they can better direct you on how to get the template to the perfect stage right before the final book is printed. Question number 3. What did Ella's mother do for a living? Yay! I've got 2 pieces of information that answer that question. The first is a Freedmen's Bureau work contract that was issued on December 15, 1866, 2 weeks before my Ella Roy was born. Interesting. It says Agnes Roy and child. Does that refer to the impending birth of my Ella, or did Agnes already have a child with her? More questions! At any rate, I inserted a copy of the contract right here in the chapter that deals with this occupation question. The second document is a link to the 1874 death certificate I discussed in the previous slide. It said Agnes Roy was a farmer in Prince William County and that she died from consumption. So who knows if she was weakened from all that outdoor work or the pregnancy or both? All I know is that I have 2 pieces of information that suggest 2 different occupations that Agnes held. Now I need to write a little narrative underneath them to answer the question of what she did for a living. But wait! I now actually have a bunch of additional questions based on these documents. Oh, did Agnes ever work for Sheriff Walker Reed Milan, as shown in the work contract? If so, did Agnes work at his home in Fairfax County or in the slave pen in Alexandria? That's a whole nother very interesting part of this story. How and when did Agnes get to Manassas? Did Agnes live with her brother Albert Roy, who was mentioned in the Manassas death record? Why didn't Agnes appear anywhere in the 1870 census? Where was daughter Ella after 1867? Did she live with Agnes or Albert or Agnes's parents or grandparents? Oh, I would need to determine whether these new questions belong in Chapter 3 or whether they belong in different chapters for further analysis. Question number 4. Where was Agnes Roy living when Ella was born on the 27th of December in 1866? This is a hospital record. My narrative says, On the Freedmen's Bureau list of destitute freedmen on the 22nd of December, 1866, Nara M. 1055, Roll 16 in Alexandria, Virginia, Agnes was listed as living in the East Capitol Hill Barracks. Doesn't that mean D.C., District of Columbia? More questions. Anyway, Agnes needed $2 in unnamed supplies as of December 22nd. She's listed in 2 other hospital records, too. It's very likely that Agnes gave birth on the 27th of December in 1866 at the same, this would be the Freedmen's Village, the hospital there. So now I have a question. The work contract said that as of the 15th of December, Agnes was supposed to be working for Walker Reed Milan. Yet here's a hospital record that says a week later she's in the hospital. Then her daughter is born the last week of December. The question becomes, did Agnes and Ella ever move into Walker Reed's house in Fairfax? Or did they continue to live in Alexandria? Well, through many, many more documents and maps and lots of studying, I came to learn that you've got to know the land boundaries by studying maps. Alexandria then had different county boundaries than it does now. Fairfax County was really big back then, so you have to study maps. I still don't know whether Agnes ever worked for Walker Reed Milan. He was the sheriff of Fairfax County in 1867, but he was also a slave trader in 1860, and he had 2 enslaved women who could have been the age of Agnes and her unnamed mother. Anyway, Walker Reed Milan had property deed issues, like lots and lots of deeds and fighting and people claiming things against him in the land records. And he was, with the infamous slave pen at 1315 Duke Street as of 1858, and maybe even into the 1860s, but I don't have documents that confirm that. I don't know if Agnes ever worked for him. I don't know if she was ever enslaved for him. And if she was, I'm not sure whether she was working in Alexandria or Milan's home in Fairfax. More questions, few answers, but at least there's lots of documents. So I hope you get the idea now. You can write additional goal questions in new chapters. Here are some examples of additional questions you might want to tackle. Who was Ella's mother's enslaver? Who was Ella's daddy? And sub-questions within the daddy question or the daddy chapter might be his birth and death dates, occupations, siblings, things like that. Another chapter could be who were Ella's daddy's parents? Who were Ella's maternal enslavers? Who were Ella's paternal enslavers? Who were Ella and her husband's descendants to the present day? And why is that so important? So that DNA can find more relatives who have records that we can review and possibly share. Your last chapter would be an epilogue or a conclusion, and that would bring it all together. It has your original questions, what you found, what you didn't find, and if you're like me, you're going to say, I'm going to publish this now. Maybe in 3 or 4 years, I'll come back when more data is available and I'll update it. But right now, I'm going to publish this puppy. I'm not going to keep waiting. What if something happens to me and all this stuff that I've been doing is going to be thrown away by my kids because they don't know what to do with it? They don't care about genealogy like I do. I'm going to publish this puppy this year and then promise to look at it in the future and maybe update it later. That gives you the freedom to be successful, and that's what I wish for you. Yay, you're cooking with gas now. Here are the last steps. You now know how to start your book with a template and fill out the chapters, but what's next? Here are the last steps. You need to create a book cover. Now you can use Kindle Direct Publishing or Lulu.com's free cover creator, or this application called Canva, or you can hire someone. You must write about 150-word description of your book for the back jacket to entice the readers to come and look at your book. Early on in your writing process, you can get beta readers from your writing groups. Those are just people who read your manuscript and give you feedback on what you've written. You can retain an editor to check the content, the grammar, the spelling, and proofread it. You can get a formatter to make it all pretty. But and then just you have to export your edited manuscript to a PDF file. Let's go to the File menu, scroll down to Save As, and do the .pdf as the type you have to save it as. Then you can print and publish your masterpiece and rejoice. Yay! Oh, you don't know how to publish your manuscript? Well, stay tuned. Okay, let's recap what we just learned. I encourage you to complete the 5-point focus exercise, then create a simple research plan so you'll have a roadmap for what kind of data you need to collect. And you are in luck, my friends. I already created a book template just for you. Yep, 25 pages are already outlined. You just have to label the chapter headings, then copy and paste your research questions. Go ahead and work up some kind of little narrative about what you've already collected. Add in your photos, any other documents you want, and already written stories. Just put them into the correct chapter because you're going to put headings on those chapters. After hearing my self-publishing class, you will be able to print out a draft or a proof every month or so, and that is going to motivate you to finish your book. So grow your book today and let the world know who we are. Woo! Almost there. Oh, goody, there's homework tonight. You get to fill out the book template for yourself. You're going to customize it for your book project based on the 5.6 focus exercise. So number 1, I made a separate book template video. It's on YouTube, and it's just right there, and it's step by step, and so you really can go along with that video and actually pretty easily fill out your book template, I think. Number 2, save the template that MAAGI emailed you. It's a word processing document, so save it to your computer desktop with using the WHO as the file name. As an example, elleroy.docx. So whatever your WHO name is, followed by the .docx. Number 3, open your saved book template file from your desktop. And using the template video from number 1, customize every page with the who, why, where, already know, and what goals for your chapter headings. Paste in any documents or photos you have, and if you have time, just add a sentence or two, a short narrative to at least some of your documents, just to get an idea of what it's like. Number 4, please save your customized book template to your computer. And number 5, I want to say, booyah! High five, you are on your way to success. I'm so happy for you. I know this is going to work for you. The QR code at the top will take you to my books on Amazon, but my books are also available from my website, KathyLynnMarshall.com. The first 7 books listed here have a Solving Your Mystery appendix that contains all of my hints and tips for researching, starting, and self-publishing your book, so check them out. My Kanika Marshall YouTube channel has dozens of how-to videos that can help you create art and research and write your book. And I've also got a few Facebook pages, such as Kanika Marshall Art, Finding Otho, Kanika Marshall, and The Ancestors Are Smiling. My Instagram is Kanika Marshall Art Books, if that floats your boat. And I want to thank you for coming. Are there any questions now?